Today, I'm going to talk about how we get from a photograph to a painting. I'm going to talk about all the steps along the way that nobody told me, things that I kind of had to figure out on my own. And I'm going to share these things with you today. So whether you've been painting for a long time or you're just getting into it, today's video is going to help you understand how you can paint from a photograph. The first thing you need to do is to take your reference photo. So this picture here is from an ancient village in Sicily called Ganji. I led a painting retreat to Sicily last year. This year I'm going to Spain, so if you're interested in that, take a look at the link below down in the description. This was a really fascinating place. It had a lot of narrow streets and a lot of character. The first thing that we did was we walked through the town and took reference photos, and this was one of the photos that I snapped. I'm going to show you what I do once I have a reference photo. First of all, it's important to note that you are never going to take a reference photo that is exactly ready to paint. There are things that you're going to need to do. The first thing that I do is I crop. So I look at this photograph and I think, where's the most powerful part of the image? What part of this scene would make the best painting? Well, down here, where the light is shining brightly against this building, I have a figure walking through the scene. So I really like this area of the scene. It's why I took the reference photo. And you can try out different options. So first, let's start with a typical horizontal composition. And that's not too bad. You know, that could work as a painting. It puts this light in a prominent area of the scene. But what I want to do is I want to do a vertical composition. I don't really need this here. This isn't adding much to the scene. There's a lot of architectural detail here that I'm not super excited about. So my eye is telling me that I want to do a vertical composition. I'm going to crop this building out completely. And I want to put that figure in a very prominent place in the scene. So I want to do something like that. And I have a nice vertical here. I have the light coming in over here. And I have some of this detail, but I really took a lot of that out by cropping in the photograph. And that is going to put this person right at this bottom left third. Now, if you're not familiar with the rule of thirds, it's where we put two vertical lines equally across the scene, two horizontal lines equally across the scene. And where those lines intersect is where it's good to have your primary areas of interest. Now, it doesn't have to be that way, but it helps to lay it out that way. It's just a natural, pleasing way to organize your painting. So I think about that rule of thirds when I do my cropping. So after we've cropped it, we are ready to then do the drawing and move into the painting process. This is the drawing that I laid out for the scene. So I have some of that architectural detail here. We eliminated a lot of it by cropping out that building that was off to the right. Within your drawing process, you can still eliminate things. You can move things around. Don't be too stuck on what you see in the reference photo. I always tell students, use the reference photo for inspiration, but we don't need to just include everything that we see in the photo. We can eliminate things. One small thing that I did was there were two big pots there. I took one out, just left one, and I simplified some of the detail here on this building on the left. So after your drawing is in place, this is where I wet down the back and the front of my paper. If you're not comfortable with that, just tape your paper down, but we're gonna do a nice wet into wet wash that will be all the light values in the scene, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm looking at the reference photo, I'm laying in all the light colors in the scene. I'm gonna start with the sky. I put a little bit of lavender and raw sienna up there to hint at a cloud. And now I'm going to take some cobalt blue and cerulean and I'm going to paint around that. So I'm laying my sky in first and a little bit of light tone on this lamppost up here, setting that up for later. And now I'm going to go right into the building wash. Now you'll notice even in this phase, I'm still thinking about values, even though we're just painting the light values of the scene. Now, as the front of this building is damp, I'm dropping in just a few subtle different shades of color. So I'm using a little bit more raw sienna and using some lavender to kind of dull that and laying in a little bit of the value on the doors and the windows. Now this is the shadow side of the building, but I don't want to just leave it blank and I don't want to paint it just with that warm tone I used on the front. So I'm cooling it down a little bit with some cobalt blue And I laid in a little bit of green for the leaves of the plant there that will be in that pot, and painting the light area of the wall on both sides. And I'm laying a little bit of color in for the figure and some on that pot as well. I want to be sure and think about the light values of each object. Even if they're going to be darker later on, I like to lay in some of that now. So her clothing later on will be a lot darker, but there might be little parts that are catching the light that I want to paint around. I'm painting the rest of the building and all the way down to the bottom. And before I call the first wash done, I like to look around the scene. Are there any small things I want to change before it all dries? And I lifted in a few little directional lines. I also look around and think, are there any edges that are too hard that I want to have a lost edge? So I softened a little bit of this around the window, and that is a look at the first wash of the scene. Once things dry, it's time to add in the middle values of the scene. This is something that's not as easy as the first wash. So let me skip ahead and show you. This is what it's going to look like. So it's a connected shape between the value of the wall into the shadow over here, the shadows over to here. So I look for connections where I can. Sometimes there are going to be little separations. This shape does not completely connect into this shape, but where I can, I try to find the connections. Now let me back this up and I'll walk you through this process. So I start back here on this distant building, and I can see from the reference photo there's a little bit of shade and a little bit more value back there. So I go ahead and connect that into the shadow on this part of the building. At this point, I'm using some raw sienna and some neutral tint, but I'm also throwing in a little bit of cobalt blue in certain areas to give it some more variety. What I don't want to do is just use the exact same mixture for this entire wash. I try to add some other colors to bring in some variety. Okay, and I'm gonna paint around the top of the figure for now, but I'll add a little bit of skin tone and just let it merge in with the wash behind it. I'm getting into the figure a little bit here because I wanted to let it connect right into that shadow, and painting the shadows under the building. And you'll see a slight difference in color. This is a little bit warmer. Here I put in a little bit of cobalt blue to add that variety that I've been talking about. I start off with some warmer color for this shadow, and then I'll drop in some cobalt blue to cool it down, give it some variety, let the colors mix on the paper, and connecting those where I can, dropping in a little bit into this wash while it's still wet, letting some of those darker values softly merge with what's on the paper. And now I'm ready to start over here on the left side, this building here that's going to be in shadow. So I'm using some raw sienna and rose madder permanent for this part of the shadow. And as I get closer to the foreground, I'm going to cool it down. I'm going to add more cobalt blue, kind of the same idea of what I was doing over here. I want to start warmer here and then get cooler as we come in. You can see the difference between this and this. And I bring the shadow shape down and across. And now I'm taking a smaller brush, adding a little more value on the windows, getting some of those shadows into place, working on the lamp with my rigger brush, and dropping in a little bit of some of the detail up on the railing. So that is the middle value connected shape of the scene. When I start adding in the darks and the details of the scene, I like to start with our primary area of interest. That way, I know how much detail I need in other areas of the painting. I'm going to add some more value to the figure, and I'm just using some cobalt blue neutral tint, mainly thinking about value. Just how can I darken that and get to the right value? I'm adding some detail on the lamp and some of the railings, and filling in some of the areas on the window. The windows, the doors, the little details, trying to find that balance of adding enough to bring it to life, but not overworking it. These are old cobblestone streets, and I want to show that, but I also don't want to paint every little ridge, every little mark I see on the ground. A few of these marks can tell the viewer what it is they're looking at. All right, I'm getting into a little more detail on the windows, the doors, just looking at the scene and thinking about what I need to finish the painting. Getting those little bits of shadows and darker areas in place. And it's amazing when we get to this point in the process, we've already done most of the work. You know, the big shapes and the values, once those are in place, the scene is really starting to work. That's why this part of the process can be so fun. Okay, a little bit of more detail around the scene. What I like to do is step back from the scene and I like to look at the painting and see where my eye goes around the scene. What do I see first? What is catching my attention? And let that be a guide to you. That's a big way to take your paintings from this level to this level, is if you can be mindful of where the viewer's eye is looking and how it's moving around the scene. And there is a look at the finished painting. I hope this look into my process of how I go from a reference photo to a finished painting is helpful for you. If you want to know more about how I paint, take a look at this resource. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone. You could print it out. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.